Welcome back. 10 minutes after 8 o'clock, something a lot of folks just actually don't like to think of, and that's saving for retirement, because believe me, it's going to be here before you know it, especially when you're young. You don't think about it, I don't think, too awful much. Paul Durso with Durso Capital Management here to talk to us about some great financial ideas. Paul, how you doing this morning?
Doing well.
Well, good. I want to hit this thing that we're talking about just a moment ago, and that's 401ks,
Yes.
which basically, if your company offers them, is free money. It is literally free money, but you're saying how many people aren't taking advantage of 401ks?
Over 60% of Americans aren't contributing to their 401k.
Why?
You know, we could probably talk for the rest of the segment on that. You know, there could be debt concerns. It could be just the fact that they need the money for something else. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's probably just a lack of discipline in saving for their future.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what about the 401k then? What do we need to be doing? Tell us that.
Well, we need to start saving. So there's definite things that we need to do when it comes to saving for our future, and some good milestones, schools of thought in doing that. The first one is, if you're younger, if you're in your 20s, you want to have your annual salary saved by the time you're 30. So if you make $50,000 a year, you want to have $50,000 saved by the time you're 30.
Okay.
And then you want to double that every 5 years until you retire.
Oh.
That's school of thought number one. Number two is, instead of worrying so much about the value of your nest egg, you want to worry about the income that that nest egg can generate.
Ah, that's a good point.
And you want to focus on that until you retire as well. If you focus on the latter, then you'll actually be more confident in your ability to retire before you get there than focusing on the value of your nest egg, which was kind of what we were talking about earlier.
How do we convince, well, first of all, let me ask, is it important for young people to understand this? But if it is, how do you convince a young person? Because I remember when I was very young, you know, how do you convince that person to start really saving? Because 30, 40 years down the road, it seems like so far, well, I'll wait.
Well, as far as convincing somebody, I don't know if I've got the magic thing to say there, but I will say you got to get started. Even if it's 1% of your salary or 2%, you have to get started right away. Once you get started, then you can build on that momentum and see it, because I think a lot of Americans are focused on debt, school debt, and I got to get out of my debt.
Yes.
And they're going, well, I'll save when my debt's paid off. And that's a dangerous scenario to be in. You have to start saving, build that account up. Once you start seeing some value in the account, you get excited, and then you want to build more. But you have to get to that point where you see value first.
All right, I want to ask you about something too, and sometimes these are the hard ones to talk about, but that is people who are literally living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, they're having a hard time even paying rent, buying groceries and things such as like, how can someone who's in a situation like that begin to save any at all?
Well, that's a tough scenario. I mean, if you're truly living paycheck to paycheck, I don't know if you're going to be able to do that. But there may be some things you can cut back. But even the people that are living paycheck to paycheck, there's probably always some sort of wiggle room. There are scenarios, I want to be very sensitive, that you can't.
Right.
There's just nothing you can do.
Okay.
But for people, and I'm very guilty of spending more than lunches every day and things like that. If I talk to myself here, there's always room to cut back 1% of your paycheck. I mean, there's probably quite a few people out there that could afford that. So, you know, and there's probably more that can afford more than 1%. But you just got to start somewhere.
Even if it's $1 a week, that's something. Wow, Paul Durso, some great information here. Something to think about. You need to contact Paul at Durso Capital Management, because you've got some great ideas here, and it is just so important. We appreciate it, Paul. Thanks for being here this morning. All right, stay with us. 14 minutes after 8. We'll be right back.